Karibu sana Daktari. He's a director HPT at the Ministry of Health. His name is Dr. Tom Bosire Menge. Daktari, you have 20 minutes. After that, we ring the bell for you. Karibu sana. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Tabitha. She was asking for whether I could give her my profile. And my profile actually constitutes of my second name. So I believe that was well received. This presentation has evolved over time because initially I was supposed to talk about issues about policy and things like that. And I think the organizers came to a place where they realized that that may not interest the pharmacists. And they just asked me to talk about MOH progress updates. The challenge is they still called it a keynote address. And yet all I was supposed to share about is information. So I will just go ahead to that. Now, in the advent of devolution, we need to understand that the role of the Ministry of Health has been reduced to especially three focus areas. That is in the area of health policy, capacity building, and technical assistance to counties, and also to manage the national referral hospitals. And therefore, as we choose to reorganize our functions and our responsibilities, most of the time we need to limit ourselves to the three areas that our mandate requires. There was a time that I was being asked to facilitate medicines to a clinic that is located in Afya House. And I told them it's difficult for us to do that because Afya House is not a health service provider. We are supposed to focus on policy, capacity building, and the national referral hospitals. Most of you are in the knowledge that what was previously the Division of Health Products and Technologies was enhanced to a directorate. And basically what we've done as a directorate is to build capacity around three areas. We have three divisions, one for HPT management and therapeutics, for quality assurance and market shaping, and one for traditional and alternative medicine. And that's how we've been able to do it. We've also been keen. We advertised opportunities for all of us to apply as pharmacists into any of those three areas, either as a head of a division or also as the director of health products and technologies. I will touch very briefly on what we are currently doing in each of these areas. And I'll start with the area of pharmaceutical policy. The reason I felt that we needed to talk about this is that I understand that in the comments that were made yesterday, there was some talk that we are going ahead to do a pharmacy policy without involving people. What we basically did is to look at the current pharmacy policy and to do what we call a situation analysis. Now, that document is present in the MOH website, and you can be able to look at it. Now, when the KNPP was done in 2012, the focus was to look at what is the situation within pharmacy within the country. And this is also called sessional paper number 4 of 2012. For a sessional paper, a policy document is not good enough when it stays with you. A policy document is a cabinet decision. And therefore, if we are doing a pharmaceutical policy or a HPT policy, we need to ensure that it receives the acknowledgement and it actually becomes a cabinet paper. What we did instead as a directorate, we wanted to see how well has the pharmaceutical policy 2012 been implemented. And the pharmaceutical policy 2012 had 12 key pillars. And if you'll have an opportunity to look at this report, what we basically did is to look at each pillar and answer the question, how much of it has been implemented? And I will just very briefly ask you to look at the percentage of implementation. If you get the document, you'll be able to see the method in which you're able to assess each of these pillars and determine how well it has performed. So there are some pillars that we could not even evaluate, because one of the pillars, like pillar 11, was looking at vet medicines. Have we made any gains in that area? The answer is we've actually made a lot of retraction in that area. The document is available, and one of the issues about looking at the pharmaceutical policy, it made us acknowledge the fact that making a policy takes a very long time. So if you look at KNPP 2012, it took 7 years to develop, 7 years. Somebody commented that when many things are happening, we are actually left out. We are hoping that we'll do it differently in the next policy. And this actually sort of like shows a thematic of how long it took until it was eventually passed by cabinet. Another area that we've put quite a lot of emphasis is on HPT supply chain. And let me just go back to nomenclature. Now, you'll realize that our directorate is themed around the area of health products and technologies. Basically what it does, it gives a bigger responsibility than just medicines. It looks at medicines, medical supplies. It looks at the technologies that are used to deliver that. Therefore, the mandate of the directorate that we currently run goes on bigger than this. In 2020, we developed a supply chain, a HPT supply chain strategy. And this has actually been the basis under which we've done a lot of the activities that we are currently doing. But at the beginning of this year, we again asked ourselves, it's midway between the implementation of the strategy and the termination of the strategy. It is the first strategy that has ever been developed, and how well are we doing in that area? And this is a big graph that basically allowed us to look at all the activities. Now, it was a very ambitious strategy, because if you look at the number of activities that are in black, there were very many. We actually realized that a lot of the activities were not strategic. And therefore, in the review, which you shall be able to share very soon, we have actually refocused and allowed the items that we do not consider to be strategic to fall off, so that we can be able to go to the end of the implementation of the strategies. But through that strategy, we've been able to guide quite a lot about what's happening within counties. Remember, we support technically the counties. We've also been able to put what we consider to be an operationalization. That is a very long word that should never be that long in the English language. So we've looked at the scorecard, and we have actually been able to look at every county, and we can tell you how well you are doing in the area of HPT management. We've also come up to do various other responses, like the HPT emergency response list. And basically what this list does is it's able to typify every single emergency in this country. Whether it's a road traffic accident, whether it is flooding, we are able to look at how many people are involved. And in a situation where this number of people are involved in this type of emergency, what is the response expected to be? How many medicines do you need? What are the health supplies that you need for this situation? And it has really helped us be more responsive to the emergencies we have. The other area that we've been very, very key on is on the area of therapeutics. And again, we are in a time, especially with ICT, where we realize that it's very easy for you to desire a document, but the best way to hide any information from a Kenyan is to put it in a book. And therefore, for any person who wants to have access to these documents, they are available both from the MOH website or from any other area. We are very proud that for the first time, we have a Kenya National Medicines Formulary. We have a Kenya National Medicines Formulary that I want to encourage every single person to have access to. It is as good, actually it is better than the British National Formulary as it relates to our situation. And I really want to commend the people who have worked hard to be able to put us on that area. Irene, I know I did not do this. Please stand up. Dr. Weru. Dr. Weru led the process. of coming up with two very key documents, and that's the Kenya National Medicines Formulary and the Kenya Essential Medicines List. Now, it is very current. It was launched last year, and it could do you well, especially in the direction that we are heading, to be able to familiarize yourself with each of these documents because of things that I'm going to say as well. Remember, I said HPT does not involve only medicines, so we've also developed the Kenya Essential Medicine Supplies List and the Kenya Essential Diagnostic List. What about digital health? And there's a lot of information that I'm giving you, but again, the topic said updates. So I'll be able to give you as many updates as possible and hopefully have an opportunity to discuss them into greater detail. One of the things that we realized when we were looking at how well placed are we in preparing ourselves, especially for the implementation of the social health insurance, we realized that we do not have a HPT reference catalog. What is this? And that's one of the things that we've been able to do, to actually have a catalog that every single person can refer to anything that you want to refer to. This is work that we've done with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, with the Digital Health Department in the Ministry of Health, and with several other partners. But a catalog looks something like this. I believe we can all read. And I'm proud to say, as per last week, this is actually uploaded on the MOH systems, and for every single product, 18,000 products that are available in this country, you can have a code that refers to the exact product, including where it is located, how it is coded, what are the pack sizes, and that is very, very important for the next stage that we are moving towards that. On the health space, we've also been able to do a donation portal. It's almost complete. We have developed regulations and standards for the HPT catalog, and that is going to be used in response also to the logistics management information system. We've also been able to develop dashboards where we can be able to track activities at every county and national hospital to look at the health of their health products and technologies, and we can be able to see that from where we sit. We are also working on the HPT website, where we already have all the guidelines that you may consider. In fact, if you go to the MOH website, we actually have a dedicated area for all the HPT issues. Now, I really appreciate what Nyakiba talked about in the area of social health insurance, and there's a lot that is happening in that space, but I want to touch on something that has been of special interest to us, and the issue of the essential pharmaceutical package, the essential pharmaceuticals package. We told you there are certain things that we must be ready to do. One of the things that you really need to do is that your pharmacy is not enough being a registered pharmacy. We need to consider that your pharmacy has to be registered as a health institution, a place where medicine is actually managed or services are provided that lead up to it. And therefore, we've sort of like created a time frame on how we can be able to establish the essential pharmaceutical package that is going to determine very many things. We need to standardize, for example, issues like costs. We need to establish margins, both for public and private. We need to agree on what are the reimbursement prices that are going to be determined. We need to look at services. And do these services appear in the Social Health Authority's list of packages that can be given? If you're giving medicines, at what level should those medicines be given? One of the things that we've done, and if you refer to both the essential medicines list and the formulary, is to be able to address the issue of at what level can you be able to give medicines. We've had a debate too long on our fight with technologists. But really, we can say that these medicines, according to the essential pharmaceutical package, will be given in a certain level of a pharmacy. Then our essential medicine list already describes at what level can those medicines be availed. And therefore, if we say, like the board said recently, that from level 4 upwards, you can only be able to have a registered pharmacist managing that premises. The essential medicine list already looks at that, and it actually already has a level of use. And therefore, your pharmacies need to be prepared that when they are being registered as institutions that provide medical care, you need to predetermine at what level are you going to be registered as. And that will actually be able to address the issue. One final thing that I want to talk about is on the issue of market shaping. Market shaping discusses very many things, but one of the things that the HPT supply chain strategy was able to clearly define is that there was a need for us to identify scaling up capacity and research, especially in local manufacturing of health products and technologies. Sometime last year, we held a HPT Manufacturers Expo, and during that, the president actually made a declaration, and the declaration was thus, that by 2026, at least 50% of the products in the essential HPT list should be locally manufactured. 2026 is not far away. And based on that, we decided to go through a process where we are able to look at the local capacity assessment of all health products and technology manufacturers. We were able to look at the 41 local manufacturers of medicines. We looked at their status for each of them, which ones are working, and that brought us down to approximately 30 sites that we were able to do a very comprehensive assessment on. We did it in February. We've been able to work on the data, and we've been able to look at all this data and have a very clear identification of the company profiles and scope, the product range that we produce, the markets that they serve, what are their sourcing strategy, what is the company capacity, and what is their technology, and look at what are the barriers and enablers for this. And I believe that we'll have a forum very soon to be able to discuss comprehensively about the findings that we had. And this has been one of the most comprehensive studies that has done, and I really want to thank the local manufacturers for allowing us to have access to very, very detailed information that they were able to share with us. And this will actually give you an idea of how healthy we are. An example, we found out that 67% of the products that our local manufacturers produce are not in the essential medicines list. So why is that so? We found out that we are increasing our capacity to do contract manufacturing as opposed to the past. We're able to look at things like, does a government policy sort of like enhance the decisions for the people who are investing in this industry? For example, when we established export processing zones, how come to date only 3 factories out of the 41 factories that we have are in the EPZ? How come there has been no response to take the advantages of EPZ for the local manufacturing industry? So it's a very comprehensive report, and I believe that we'll have opportunity to share it. The other area that has been really asked is, how does public procurement respond to the products that are manufactured locally? And therefore, we were able to do an assessment in 2021, and we were able to repeat it again for the current assessment that we did, to ask ourselves, is it possible that if we demonstrate capacity of locally produced medicines, can we be able to safeguard them so that they are bought locally? Can we create a market for our local products? And if you realize that the first stage of that is a tender that happened this year that was completely limited in certain categories for local manufacturers. And I believe that's the trend that we have to go. The final thing I'll talk about is the space of medical oxygen. Now, WHO wisely declared medical oxygen to be an essential medicine. And yet this is one area that we have sort of like felt, and in fact in most hospitals, you'll not find that pharmacies take responsibility of medical oxygen. There's a lot of investment in production and storage. There's bulk liquid oxygen, there are PSA plants, there's compressed medical oxygen that is circulating in cylinders, and it is used in almost every area. we've just come to the end of doing guidelines because it is our responsibility as pharmacists to actually manage medical oxygen as an essential medicine. We've been able to do guidelines, we've been able to give various information that is guiding in the medical oxygen space. It's one of the most challenging areas, but I want to commend my team for the way that we've been able to go ahead. There are a lot of planned activities. We will be reviewing and developing the HPT policy, and we'll bring it for decision making. We've had a pharmacy policy in the past, but then the vision of us as a nation and the trend that is going on worldwide is that it's not just pharmacy we need to look at. We need to look at the wider HPT policy space. We have opportunity to develop the pharmacy practice bill, and as I say this, many of you are aware that you've already been called to some of these groups that are sitting down to look at some of the work that we are doing. We are hoping that there'll be a wider acceptance of the lists and the formulary, and I've informed you that you can actually access it and have it as a document, because in the space of SHA, you are going to really familiarize yourself on what are the essential medicines that are there. As we finish the capacity assessment for local manufacture, we'll be expanding this not just to medicines only, but we'll be expanding them to the space of all other HPTs and specific medicines that are used within our programs. So we'll include diagnostics, nutrition, and medical supplies and technologies. And also, within the next few months, we'll start the process of actually developing the pharmacy benefits package. So all of this is to really say that within the past few years, I really want to thank the persons that I've worked with, and I know they don't like me doing this. Could my colleagues in HPT just stand up? A boss usually expects obedience. Some of them overindulged last night, so they are not here. But we have an amazing team of pharmacists who are driving the process of shaping HPT within the country. And I really appreciate the work you've done. And I appreciate all the things you've done to help us look forward. One of the most amazing things for me as I conclude is the fact that in the Ministry of Health and in every single place you are today, the issue of the pharmacist guiding policy and being in the table for decision making has really been enhanced, and it's because of all of you that our profile has come up. Thank you very much.
Thank you once more. Makofi ya kilo kwake. He's done a good job. Do we have questions for the director? Wow, wow. I know Professor Ndemo, Honorable Karanja, they will talk much. Ladies first.
Thank you very much, Dr. Menge, for the wonderful presentation and for the leadership that you've shown from DHPT. I know that right now the pharmacists, we're taking a leading role in everything, and when we lead, we do very well, actually. And even health is working nationally because of, I think, DHPT. Such a commendable job. We can clap for them. Now, my question is, we keep talking about HPT, a good direction strategically to ensure that we bring everyone on board for the whole country, having diagnostics on board, you know, oxygen and all this. Biomed sit in our HPT. We have an MDT, multidisciplinary approach to the commodity and supplies and the technologies, which is, I think, done very well. What is suffering is the pharmaceutical care. Pharmacy practice, clinical, that's a bit that we are really missing out on, and I don't know what DHPT is thinking to ensure that we have a comprehensive approach. We are more than the commodity, and we want to be closer to the patient, and make our clinical pharmacists relevant and know clearly what their role is and really support that. And the only way it can happen is from the support from the HPT. We really want to hear out what you're planning in that space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those who are asking your questions, kindly say your name, the institution, and then we move. Let me start with Honorable Phil, Dr. Karanja.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Director, I really want to appreciate what I've heard you saying. I have been wondering where we are in relation to the session of paper number 4 of 2012. 2012. And I am happy to observe that now we have the Directorate of Health Products and Technologies. I would like to understand how that relates to Health Act 2017, particularly with the particular reference, the creation of a single regulatory authority for all medicines. I would also want you to comment on the dictates of essential, what do you call it, the session of paper number 4, 2012, with respect to the eventual creation of the Directorate of Pharmaceutical Services to take overall charge and direct policy and inform policy, particularly in all these other organs. You're talking about the membership to the regulatory authority, membership to KEMSA, and membership to the NQCL in order to advise and direct policy. I am very happy, I'm very encouraged that we are moving in the right direction. And I'm really looking forward to someone, and you are most strategically placed, I must say, to eventually take over that position of Director of Pharmaceutical Service overall. I think this is where personally, in the progression that we are, where we're going, that eventually that is where we are headed. We have come from far from a small division within structures to where now we have you as a director. Let us support this process so that eventually we realize this objective, because that is where we get the respect of everyone in the health sector, in the ministry. That is where we then find ourselves on the table everywhere in policy making, instead of being on the menu. Kindly, I would like you to comment on those, and particularly the issue, before I leave, the veterinary medicines. I am very passionate because the moment we start hiving off a huge section of medicines, health products and technologies as defined by 2012 sessional paper, it included everything, including veterinary medicines. I will be pained, it will be unfortunate if you were to allow this to happen. And I have a paper which I have developed, and I'm sure I will be able to share with you at your level, because you are at that senior level, so that as we are making our recommendations, we are guided. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear your views on this.
Thank you, Director. Please kindly answer those, because I know paper number 4, 2012 is of interest, especially for the pharmaceutical care. Then I'll get a question from Dr. Murisho and Professor Ndemo.
Thank you very much for those concerns. My first slide actually said that the role of national government is specifically to address issues of policy, but also to offer technical support for service provision at the county level and for the national referral hospitals. And therefore, when you feel that there's a gap in your area of practice, that you either require a policy or some kind of direction, I'll encourage you to just approach us and see how we can be able to enhance the issues of practice within that area. As far as we've understood, we have established every document that you need to be able to offer pharmaceutical services. And if there's any other area in terms of a policy paper that you require to come up to define our services better, in order you can be able to approach us, and you can do it on behalf of the profession. The issue of a single regulatory authority for HPTs, the reason I did not mention it, Dr. Karanja, I appreciate your effort and your work towards that direction. We are aware that it has gone through various forms of understanding or progression, and there has been a lot of input in that area. Indeed, we have sat with parliamentarians. We've looked at the input from the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, alongside others. And we are aware that what was called the, forgotten the name, is actually morphing itself to something much, much bigger. And the last session that we had with the parliamentarians, especially the health committee, they felt that this issue of the KDA should be able to advance so that it's not just a Kenya Drugs Authority, but a Health Products and Technology Authority. And through that process, your issues will actually be addressed. For the Health Products and Technology Authority, which is the current thought process in Parliament, and it's undergoing its final reading, is that it will bring all the issues of health products and technology under one authority. And therefore, your dream will have come true, that all the other acts are going to fall into place. Now, what does this do to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board? It allows us to have a Pharmacy and Poisons Board or a Pharmacy Council being developed that looks at issues of practice very specifically. And in my way forward, I said one of the things that we've been mandated is to allow the Directorate of Health Products and Technologies to be able to consolidate the team together that will be able to enhance the pharmacy practice bill. And we are in talk with the Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya and all other players. How can we be able to do it? The Act in its current, the bill, let me call it a bill, actually envisions a 2-year transformation period where PPB will cease to exist once it's enacted to be able to have a Pharmacy Council and a HPT authority. So I believe that is in purpose. Now, on the issue of the Directorate of Pharmaceutical Services, the creation of the Directorate of Health Products and Technology sort of like agrees with the mandate that has been established within the ministry. Remember, we are looking at issues of policy and not services. Now, we have encouraged all hospitals and all counties to have the position of Director of Pharmaceutical Services. I saw Birichi somewhere. Dr. Birichi, he is the Director of Pharmaceutical Services, Kenyatta National Hospital. And every single hospital should have a director. We've already put it in the guidelines. You need to have a Director of Pharmaceutical Services who is responsible for offering pharmaceutical services at the care area, which is the hospital, which is the industry, at whatever level. We need that position at that level. Now, for the institutions that we've talked about, KEMSA, PPB, and the board, we have the positions of Director of Health Products and Technologies. 3 directors that should be at par with one another, with one focusing on policy issues based in the ministry, one dealing with regulatory issues, and I'm aware that last month there was somebody appointed to the position of director at the acting position of Health Products and Technologies in the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, dealing with issues of regulation, and one, and that position has been created in KEMSA, who will deal with issues of procurement, warehousing, and distribution of HPTs. So we are not looking at one overall position of Director of Pharmaceutical Services. We are looking at those institutions being created at every service area and being created at the national level, where we have several institutions that deal with HPTs having people who are at par, because that will open the space for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Please don't sit so that Dr. Mauricio and Professor Demo think you have so much time. Keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Menge. My name is Dr. Kamamia Mauricio. I'm the chairman of the Kenya Pharmaceutical Distributors Association. 3 quick ones. I'm surprised that I really got worried when you mentioned that 67% of our locally manufactured products are not on the essential medicines list. Yet, in the same breath, we are talking about in the next few years, 50% of KEMSA supplies should come from locally manufactured farms. So I think this, we require to know how this is going to be sorted out.
But when you look at the National Pharmaceutical Service units, we are actually more developed than any other country that I've seen. Because what are our National Pharmacy Service units? We've got KEMSA, we've got the Ministry of Health doing policy, we've got the regulator as national and the NQCL as national pharmaceutical services units. And what we've done is to create a position in those areas. There was a final question that was asked on, are we at risk of losing the headship of the position I'm acting in to a non-pharmacist? When you look at the adverts, as much as, okay, first of all, let me say this. Within my directorate, I have pharmacists, I have nurses, I have biomedical engineers, I've got laboratory people, because we are looking at HPTs. If you look at the adverts that have gone up, especially for the Ministry of Medical Services, the opportunities then open for pharmacists to be in any other area. And I pray that, first of all, we are competitive enough to take those positions. And let us not shy away from making applications for those positions. You actually stand a much better position to be able to occupy. If you look at the small words later on, you'll realize that it talks about it. But there's no way we are going to say that this shall be for a pharmacist. Otherwise, we'll go to court like we took the Director General. We are the ones who took him to court and said, it reads medic. So if we do that way for also the pharmacy services, we'll be taken to court because it reads pharmacist. But let's not shy away because it does not say pharmacist. Let us go into them, and it opens the whole scope of the all the directorates in health services to actually be occupied by pharmacists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director. We have a gift for you. PSK is very generous.
Asante, yeah. So I think I'd like to just pick on that note. For the KEMSA CEO advert, it closed when, who remembers when it closed? Yesterday? Eh? No, it closed 12th. No, it closed this week. Because I have only written certificates for PSK to only 4 members who came and requested because they applied. Yeah, I was expecting like, maybe 10% of the people here will apply. That's 70 people, but only 4. Maybe they have applied, but they didn't come through PSK. Only 4 came through PSK. So, msiogope hizi kazi, please apply. PSK, we are generous. So this photo is a photo of 2 collaborating people rowing somewhere in a direction. You've given us the vision. So we are looking forward to work hand in hand with you, Dr. Menge. We know you're a collaborative person to achieve the success we need to achieve together. Asante, makofi ya Bwana Director. And this also is a token of appreciation. It's not above gold.
I'm supposed to declare anything above 20,000.